My nephew spit on my plate during dinner and said, "Dad told me you had it coming." Everyone burst out laughing. I quietly left the table. Later that night, Mom texted, "Don't reach out to us anymore." My brother responded with a thumbs up emoji. I replied, "Got it. Mortgage auto pay stops tomorrow." By 11:42 p.m., the chat exploded. I nearly flipped the damn table. I had never been more tempted to cause a scene in my life. It wasn't just the spit, though. Watching Caleb lean over, lock eyes with me, and deliberately hawk a wad into my mashed potatoes was disgusting enough. It was what he said after that turned my stomach. "Dad says, you deserve it." I stood. My chair scraped the floor. For a second, I didn't even feel like I was in my body anymore. 10 years old or not, that kid knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what those words meant. And the way he said it proud loud as if it were some family joke I wasn't in on made me want to say something that would have burned every bridge in that room to ash. But I didn't. I sat back down fully. My hands were shaking. Not because I was afraid, because I was furious. Jenna looked up just long enough to smirk at me before going back to scrolling through her phone. Alex was still chewing, clearly unbothered. My mom across the table didn't even blink. She cut her meatloaf like nothing had happened. Like spit on a plate was just another Tuesday. Then Jenna laughed loudly. Caleb followed, laughing like it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. Alex wiped his mouth and muttered something about classic Caleb. My mother's lips curled just slightly into a smile. No one said it was wrong. No one asked me if I was okay. I realized in that moment that I wasn't angry at Caleb. Not really. I was angry at them for creating him, for shaping him into a mirror of themselves, and for expecting me to keep showing up like none of this ever happened. Like I was the idiot for staying quiet while they treated me like a walking ATM with a side of emotional target practice. I stood again, this time calmly. I picked up my purse, left my shoes by the door, walked out without a word, got into my car, and drove back to my apartment barefoot. When I got home, I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I just turned on the kettle and sat there, quiet, processing. Then I opened my laptop and went into my banking dashboard. My name was tied to Mom's mortgage account. I had been covering the shortfalls for the last year and a half. Quietly, automatically every month, Jenna always assumed I was doing fine and guilt me into paying for things she couldn't afford right now. Alex had borrowed money I knew I'd never see again. And somehow, even though they had more support, more praise, and more love growing up, I was the one expected to sacrifice. At 9:12 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Mom, don't contact us again." No explanation, no context, just that. I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I typed back. "Understood. Mortgage auto pay ends tomorrow." I watched the chat go quiet. Then, at 11:42 p.m., it exploded. First it was Jenna. "What are you talking about?" Then Alex. "You're joking, right?" Then Mom. "Don't be petty." Sarah. Then another message from her. "You're being dramatic." Then Jenna again. "You're seriously going to screw over your own mother." Then Caleb sent a laughing emoji. Then a crying one. Then a thumbs down, and then Alex again. Thumbs up. I didn't reply. I turned off my phone and went to bed. At 7:03 the next morning, there was a knock at my door. It was Danielle, my cousin. She was holding coffee in one hand and a bag of everything bagels in the other. She didn't wait for an invitation. She walked in, dropped the bagels on my counter, and smiled. "Took you long enough," she said. I didn't say anything. I just poured 2 mugs of coffee and sat down across from her. She was right. I should have done this years ago. Danielle didn't ask what happened when she walked in. She just handed me coffee and said, "Took you long enough." We sat at my kitchen table while the bagels cooled between us. For a while, neither of us said much. Then she opened her laptop, looked at me, and said, "Okay, time to clean house." She meant it literally and financially. While I tossed out the reminders of my family, the jacket Jenna left here 6 months ago, Caleb's broken Nintendo controller I was apparently supposed to fix. Danielle pulled up my bank accounts, loan records, and the auto-pay list I hadn't touched in years. "You've been paying their bills like a full-time accountant," she said. "No wonder they treat you like an employee." There was more than I remembered. My name was still attached to Mom's cable plan, Jenna's dentist from 2 years ago, and even the family's Disney Plus account. I was still paying for the Netflix account that only Caleb used. Every single tie cut, Jenna's car loan was trickier. I had co-signed years ago when she told me she needed help just for 6 months to get approved. She never refinanced, never mentioned it again. I called the lender and filed a release request. It would take a few weeks, but it would be done. Danielle looked up at me. You do realize how big this is, right? I nodded, but I didn't really feel it yet. I just felt lighter, not happy, just not crushed. In the following days, I started noticing how much more space I had in my life. Real space. I wasn't constantly checking my account. I wasn't getting passive-aggressive texts about money or errands, or can you take Caleb to his appointment next week? I had silence, cold, still unfamiliar silence, and I liked it. I bought a new mattress, got my hair cut, signed up for a Thursday night pottery class with Danielle. It felt weird to do something just because I wanted to, but I was learning. The group chat stayed dead. Not a single message. I waited, but nothing came until 2.5 weeks later when Jenna sent a single text. You're a terrible human being. Caleb cried when he found out he couldn't go on his field trip. Hope that makes you feel good. No greeting, no explanation, no accountability. I didn't respond. She followed up with a 48-second voice memo, mostly yelling, something about loyalty, family. Her voice cracked when she brought up Caleb. Then it cut off mid-sentence. I didn't listen to it twice. Danielle told me to block her. I didn't. Not yet. Part of me wanted to see how far they'd go. What desperation looked like when entitlement ran out. A few days later, Danielle sent me a screenshot of a Facebook post Jenna made. It was a GoFundMe campaign titled, Help Caleb Get Through a Tough Year. The photo was of Caleb smiling with a backpack on. The description was vague, something about unpaid lunches, sudden medical bills, and how certain family members chose to walk away. It had one donation, $10 from our mom. That part stung. Danielle sent it to me with no caption. I just stared at it. I didn't donate. I didn't ask what the medical bills were for. I didn't share the post, but it made something shift in me. I wasn't guilty. I was alert. There was more going on. Jenna never mentioned anything to me about Caleb being sick or needing treatment. And now she was begging strangers for help for a field trip. There was something else. Danielle noticed me staring at the screen and said, You don't owe them anything, you know. I nodded, but I kept thinking about the word medical. Because if something had really happened to Caleb, they'd never admit it. Not until they were out of options. Another week of silence passed, and for once, I didn't spend it waiting for their next move. I was busy. I had my Thursday pottery class with Danielle. I joined a weekend book club at the library downtown, and I finally started sleeping through the night. Deep, uninterrupted sleep. No more waking up at 2 a.m. to check if Jenna had messaged me asking for another small favor. I was beginning to believe they might actually be gone for real this time. But it never lasts, does it? It was Thursday. I just left class and was walking to my car with a vanilla latte when my phone buzzed in my coat pocket. An unknown number called. No voicemail. I didn't pick up. Less than a minute later, a text came through. It was Jenna. I know you hate me. You have every right to. But Caleb's sick. It's serious. He needs surgery. We lost our insurance months ago, and we can't afford it. Please, I'm not asking for myself. Don't tell Mom I reached out. She's already stretched thin. I'm begging for him. I stood in the parking lot, leaning against my car door, rereading the message. My first thought was to delete it and drive home. No details about the surgery, no apology, just Jenna assuming I'd fix their mess again. That night, I showed the text to Danielle. You're going to help, right? She asked. I didn't answer. She already knew. It wasn't about Jenna. It was about Caleb. Despite all the cruel things he'd done, spitting in my food because he thought it was funny, he was just 10, a product of how he was raised. I checked my finances. I'd saved a bit since cutting them off. Not a lot, but enough. I crunched the numbers, looked at upcoming bills, and asked myself, would helping Caleb keep me up at night? If I didn't, it would. I texted Jenna back, I'll cover 40%. That's it. Direct to the hospital, not you. No reply for 3 hours. I was already in bed when she responded, Are you serious? Then another, Thank you. I mean it. The next morning, I called the clinic she'd mentioned. Spoke to billing. Didn't give my name at first, just asked how to contribute to a patient's surgery. They confirmed Caleb was scheduled and needed a partial payment by next week to secure the slot. I paid exactly 40%. Got a receipt. Hung up. 3 hours later, my phone rang, Mom's name on the screen. I didn't answer. Her voicemail said, I heard what you did for Caleb. Just thank you. I was wrong about some things. No apology, but it was close. The closest I'd get, probably. I didn't call back. Not yet. The next few days felt quieter, Not the cold silence of before, but like something was settling. Then, Saturday afternoon, a package appeared on my doorstep. No return address, just my name in neat black marker. Inside were old photo albums, real photos, some edges yellowed. I sat cross-legged on the floor, flipping through them. Grade school, Christmas mornings, my first bike, my 7th birthday. Jenna was in almost every picture. We looked happy. We looked like strangers now. Tucked between 2 albums was a folded note. Handwritten. You didn't deserve how he treated you. We were wrong. I'm sorry. No signature, but I knew the handwriting. Part mom, part Jenna. I stared at it for a long time, unsure what to feel. Relief? Validation? It wasn't quite any of those, but it was something. A start. I didn't touch the albums again. I slid the box onto a shelf in the hallway closet, like leaving it out might stir up too much. The note stayed tucked in a book I hadn't finished. I wasn't ready to dig into old memories or half apologies. 2 weeks passed without a word. Just when I thought it was over, Mom texted, "Dinner, Sunday, just us. Please come." Danielle was skeptical. Is she cooking or setting a trap? I didn't know, but I went, not because I trusted Mom, but because I needed to see if anything had changed. I didn't tell Danielle until I was parked outside Mom's house. She texted, "Text me every hour, or I'm coming to rescue you." The house was quiet when I arrived. Porch light on, no shouting, no TV blaring. For a moment, I thought she'd forgotten, but then I smelled it. Homemade apple pie, a scent I hadn't known in years. Inside, Mom was in the kitchen, apron on, eyes red. Something was burning. Not the pie, something else. I spotted a broken wine glass by the sink, shards scattered across the counter. Her hand was wrapped in a stained towel. She brushed it off, said she'd dropped it earlier. I cleaned up the glass, rinsed her cut, bandaged it. We barely spoke. She sat at the kitchen table while I set out the food. Meatloaf, green beans, simple but familiar. During dinner, she didn't mention Jenna or Caleb. Not the money either. She just asked, "Are you happy?" It hit harder than I expected. I said I was. For the first time, I meant it without needing her to believe me. I was paying my bills, sleeping through the night, waking up without dread. That was enough. Then she said something I never expected. "I wasn't fair to you. I saw you as the strong one, so I gave you everything to carry." No tears, no begging. Just her, looking smaller than I remembered, with a bandaged hand and a half-eaten plate. We didn't hug. I didn't stay long. When she asked if I wanted to see Caleb, I said no. It was the first time I'd said no without bracing for a fight. She nodded. No anger, no guilt. I left before dessert. 3 days later, Jenna texted, "Caleb wants to see you. He wrote you something. I know you don't owe us anything, but I'm trying." I didn't respond. 2 days later, another package arrived. No return address, just my name in familiar handwriting. Inside was a folded sheet of lined paper with a pencil drawing. Me and Caleb on a park bench. I looked like a lumpy potato with hair, but it was me. Below, in messy letters, "Sorry I was mean. Thank you for helping me not die. Love, Caleb." I sat on the floor, holding that paper for a long time. It was absurd. It was perfect. That night, I mailed back a short note. "Thanks for the drawing. Glad you're okay." No smiley face, no promises, just the truth. 3 days later, a knock at my door. It was Jenna. I hadn't seen her since the night Caleb spit in my food. She looked different. No makeup, hair in a messy ponytail, no designer boots. Her hands were empty except for one thing, her wedding ring. She held it up. "I'm selling it. Should have done it years ago. I need to stop pretending I have it all together. I don't." She swallowed, then looked at me. "I'm sorry, Sarah. For everything. For Caleb, for Mom, for every time I let it happen." I didn't speak right away. I didn't need to. Then she said, "Talk to Mom. She's thinking of selling the house, moving closer to you. She wants to start over." I blinked. That wasn't part of any story I'd imagined. She handed me a small envelope with a 4-digit check inside. Not enough to cover everything I'd paid over the years, but enough to acknowledge it. "It's from both of us," she said, then walked back to the car where Caleb waved quietly. I stood in the doorway, his simple wave lingering in my mind, like he understood something new. Inside, I left the check untouched on the counter. Danielle arrived later, tossing her keys down and handing me wine. "You look like you got proposed to by an ex," she teased, noticing the lack of frozen pizza. We laughed, talked about me, my dreams, and a job opening at her firm. administrative, flexible, with benefits. I said I'd think about it, a big step for me, no longer weighed down by others' needs. Days later, Mom texted a photo of a worn-out house she might buy 10 minutes from me. It felt like possibility, not pressure. Then, an envelope slipped under my door. A card from Caleb with cartoon bears, his uneven handwriting apologizing and mentioning my new job and haircut. Jenna must have told him. I wrote back via his school email, keeping it light, saying I'd like to write sometimes. Another envelope came, with Caleb's drawing of us at a table with clay pots, detailed down to my crooked pottery handle. Someday, he wrote, giving me space. I tucked it away with Mom's note. Fall came fast. I took the job, found a routine, coffee, desk by the window, coworkers who didn't expect me to fix them. Danielle and I carpooled. She liked having me around. Mom bought the house and invited me for dinner. I agreed, cautiously. Jenna sent a typed letter, raw with shame, admitting I'd been the one to step up when Caleb nearly died. She didn't expect a reply. At Mom's new house, the dinner was real. Roast chicken, no yelling. Caleb gave me a napkin place card. Jenna was interviewing at a library. Mom joined a walking group. They gave me a box with an old family photo and a key to the house. No strings. I stayed for coffee and pie, feeling, for the first time, like family. Not perfect, just possible.